Hey, in today's video, I'm talking about 7 surprising signs you may have a vitamin B6 deficiency. See, vitamin B6 plays such a critical role in cellular energy production, neurotransmitter production, your ability to produce stomach acid, your ability to methylate and detoxify through your liver. And so there are some significant signs that you will notice if you have a vitamin B6 deficiency. The first one is poor glucose control. So your blood sugar is just not coming down. Even when you're exercising, you just tend to have a higher blood sugar. If you're looking at a continuous blood glucose monitor, your blood sugar may go way up and it may go way down, right? And so you have poor blood sugar control. That's one big factor. Also, depression and anxiety. In fact, B6 is a key cofactor in the conversion of the excitatory neurotransmitter glutamate and turning it into the inhibitory or the brakes in your brain, GABA. So you need a good ratio of glutamate. Again, glutamate's like the gas pedal in your brain, helps you think sharply and quickly. GABA is the brakes, so it helps to calm your brain. And so B6 is a key cofactor along with magnesium to convert glutamate to GABA. So if you don't have enough vitamin B6, you're going to end up with too much glutamate, not enough GABA, and you're going to end up with anxiety. It can also end up causing depression as well. Also, a lot of these individuals with B6 deficiencies have jitteriness when they consume coffee or any sort of caffeine. So they are not able to metabolize caffeine very well, so they end up more jittery and with an accentuated response to consuming caffeine. Pregnant women that are deficient in vitamin B6 often end up with more nausea, so morning sickness, and water retention in their body. And so B6 is really key for helping prevent the nausea that women get when they're pregnant, particularly during that first trimester, and also the water retention in later trimesters that many women will experience. So big factor there. Also, it plays a really important role. B6 plays an important role in the liver's ability to detoxify different chemicals. And so if you're having a lot of negative responses to prescription drugs or to food additives, MSG, for example, right? And so when people go into Asian restaurants, oftentimes, fast food restaurants, there's a lot of MSG, monosodium glutamate, put in there, and a lot of people get headaches. That could be a B6 deficiency, your inability to metabolize MSG. Also, food colorings and food dyes, like yellow food dye, red food dye. If you're not metabolizing those well and they end up causing more symptoms, right? Maybe more ADHD-like symptoms, headaches, forgetfulness, you just don't feel as good when you're consuming things like that, then that could be a sign of a vitamin B6 deficiency as well. Also, if you have poor oxalate metabolism, or if you have a history of kidney stones, this is often related to a B6 deficiency. When you have enough B6 on board, your body's able to metabolize oxalates more effectively. So if you're having kidney stones, calcium oxalate kidney stones, or poor responses to oxalates, something to consider would be looking at vitamin B6 levels. And then finally, poor dream recall. So at night, you just never remember your dreams. That could be a sign of a vitamin B6 deficiency. There are some individuals, particularly individuals that have a condition called pyroluria, where they have very poor dream recall. And so that can be a sign and symptom of vitamin B6 deficiency. Now, let's look at the root cause factors for a vitamin B6 deficiency. One is poor diet. Like if you're just not consuming enough, you're eating a lot of ultra-processed foods, not consuming enough vitamin B6, obviously that can cause a B6 deficiency. For some people, they have too high a toxic load. They're consuming pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, right, in their diet, and they're just being exposed to them. They have mold in their house. All of those things can lead to a vitamin B6 deficiency because the more your liver has to work and the more methylation processes you go under to deactivate and detoxify chemicals, the more you're draining your B6 levels. So prescription drugs are a big factor. The more prescription drugs you're taking, the more you're depleting your vitamin B6 levels. A big one is oral contraceptives, so birth control pills. They really deplete all your B vitamins, including vitamin B6. So look out for that as well. For some individuals, they have celiac disease or malabsorption in general. They're not able to absorb B6 coming in from their diet. And then there is a genetic condition called pyroluria, where the body has trouble breaking down blood cells, and they end up with an overload of what we call cryptopyrroles in this condition of pyroluria. And these individuals need higher amounts of B6, higher amounts of zinc in general to really function and feel their best. And so these are all reasons why somebody might have a B6 deficiency. I didn't even mention alcohol, right, which is one of the big factors. If you're drinking a lot of alcohol, you're also gonna deplete your B6 levels as well, or even a lot of caffeine. High amounts of caffeine will also deplete B6 levels as well. High blood sugar, right, just poor diet in general, poor lifestyle, chronic stress, all those things can deplete vitamin B6 levels. Now, so when we're looking at a vitamin B6 deficiency on blood analysis, a couple things that we're gonna look at. We're gonna look at certain patterns. And so an individual with vitamin B6 deficiency is going to have a microcytic anemic pattern, meaning that their red blood cells, they'll have too low amount of red blood cells and hematocrit because vitamin B6 is so important for red blood cell development. However, they will have enough iron and storage form of iron, serum ferritin. So you'll know it's not an iron deficiency, but instead it is a B6 deficiency. And when we look at their mean corpuscular volume, their MCV, that will actually be under 85, and that can indicate an issue with vitamin B6. Also, we'll see that their homocysteine levels are elevated up above 9. Vitamin B6, folate, and B12 are all key for getting homocysteine, metabolizing that, turning it into SAMe and glutathione. And so if we see the homocysteine elevated up over 9, could be an issue with vitamin B6 levels. Also, we may see glucose, elevated blood glucose. We may see signs of insulin resistance. That can be a factor. And then finally, we're looking at liver enzymes. And so your liver enzymes, your AST and your ALT, those ones in particular, the optimal range is really between 10 and 25 or so, 10 and 26. If they're under 10, if we're not producing enough of these liver enzymes, ALT, AST, and also GGT, if it's, let's say, 7 or 8, so it hasn't reached that 10, that could be a vitamin B6 deficiency causing an underproduction of these liver enzymes. So that's what we're looking at on the blood test pattern. The RDA, the recommended daily allowance for vitamin B6 for a man is roughly 1.3 to 1.7 milligrams a day. For a woman, it's 1.2 to 1.5 milligrams a day. But from my experience in functional nutrition, those are way too low. For optimal function, you want 10 to 20 milligrams a day. Now, best food sources are gonna come from your animal products, right? Animal products, your beef, your eggs, beef liver, all those types of things, chicken, turkey, all great sources of vitamin B6. From plant-based sources, chickpeas happen to be the highest source of vitamin B6. You can also get vitamin B6 from potatoes, from bananas, as well as from squash. So those would all be good sources of vitamin B6 to consume. Now, when it comes to supplemental forms, I find that the most common form is called pyridoxine HCl, right? And that is an inactive form of vitamin B6. Your body has to actually work hard to activate that form. So it's a very inexpensive form, but it's also not fully activated and actually can be a stressor on the body. So what I recommend is the P5P form, pyridoxal 5-phosphate form of vitamin B6. This is the pre-activated or pre-methylated form of vitamin B6 that's most absorbable. So what you should be looking for is a multivitamin that provides 5 or more milligrams of P5P. And really you want to get about 10 to 20 milligrams a day from food and from supplements for optimal doses. Now, if you're very vitamin D deficient, I recommend doing 50 to 100 milligrams a day, twice a day, once or twice a day, to elevate your vitamin B6 levels. If you have this condition of pyroluria, right, which I've talked about on my website, you can look that up, Pyruria, pyroluria, if I spelled that right. That you can look that up on drjockers.com. We have a whole lot of detail on that. But for those individuals, I recommend, again, 50 to 100 milligrams once or twice a day. Taking that to elevate their B6. They're also going to need zinc as well if they have that pyroluric condition. And so that's what you're looking for to elevate B6. We really don't see toxicity levels unless you're taking very high doses, 300 to 600 or more milligrams a day for many days in a row. And then you can have a vitamin B6 toxicity. But it can be hard to get because vitamin B6 is water soluble, so your body will actually just flush it out if you're consuming a lot. But if you are mega dosing on supplements, 300 to 600 milligrams a day, drop that back for sure so you don't risk any form of toxicity. Taking something like 50 to 100 milligrams once or twice a day. Totally safe, totally fine, although you may not need it. 10 to 20 milligrams may be all that you need. I find that about 80% of the population does really well on 10 to 20 milligrams. There may be another 10, 15% that are going to do really well, 10 to 20% or so, doing 50 to 100 milligrams once or twice a day, and they feel a lot better doing that. So those are the signs of a B6 deficiency. Make sure that you aren't dealing with that, and if so, address it with food and supplements, and you'll feel significantly better. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my channel, browse the various videos that I've done on similar topics, and also make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button. That way you get notified whenever I put up a new video training. Thanks so much for being a part of our community here, and I really hope you enjoy the videos that we're putting out on a regular basis. Be blessed.